friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a brand new palette from Nomad Cosmetics. This time the destination is Costa Rica. This is the Bosque Nuboso de Monteverde palette. I'm just thrilled that we have a Spanish-speaking destination. Do you remember in my Provence palette video where I was just struggling so hard with the French words and I was like, palette. Finally, my wish has come true and I can actually hope to do justice to some of these pronunciations. This palette is launching on Tuesday, August 23rd at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So if you're not sure what time that is in your particular time zone, you can always just give it a quick Google to figure out what time that is for you. This is an 18 pan palette. I'm guessing this palette will be priced at $44 US since the other palettes of this size are at that price point. Nomad Cosmetics was kind enough to send this over to me. I'm gonna try my best to get this review out before the launch. Got a lot to get into. I want to give you a close-up look at this palette. I'm gonna do swatches. I'm gonna do 2 different looks. I'm gonna give you all my thoughts along the way. So let's start with a close-up look at this palette and its packaging, because this has some very beautiful, very vibrant packaging to go along with the vibrant, beautiful shades inside. This is the palette inside the outer box. So the cardboard box that this palette comes in has these little cutout windows and you can see little peeks of the palette underneath. I think this is such a cute little detail. I love the way they set this up. On the back, you can see all of the shadows pictured on the back here, and it also lets you know that they are supporting the Monteverde Wildlife Reserve in Costa Rica. So if that's something you're interested in, I will link their site down in the description box. If you are not feeling this palette, but you'd like to support the cause, you can always just donate directly to the reserve. Sloths are my favorite animal. I donate to the Sloth Conservation Foundation every single year. So I'm gonna link that too, just because that's an organization I really like to support. And I'm so happy to see a cute little sloth here. I love this vibrant, beautiful, bright packaging. Yet again, just beautiful artwork on the palette here, and a reminder that the Nomad palettes are cruelty-free and vegan, so safe for all my vegan friends. When we open up inside this palette, there is a very large mirror. I have been using this mirror to do my makeup, so I'm happy to see this big useful mirror inside here. We have a great mixture of different textures, lots of really rich true mattes, 12 matte shades, 6 shimmers, and a couple of these shimmer shades are duochromes, especially the very first shade in the palette there. You can see it's like a green to pink shift. It is such an interesting and definitely very unique type of duochrome shade. I have been swatching and using the heck out of this palette, so all the pretty little imprints have been messed up, but I did take a couple of photos and videos of the palette before I dug my little fingers in there, so it will be available to view on my Instagram and my TikTok if you want to see what the prints looked like. Now we're going to take a look at the swatches of this palette. I am doing one half of the palette at a time just so that all the shades aren't all jammed in there and you can really get a feel for what these look like applied to the skin. On top are the finger swatches, and then the bottom row are brush swatches. There's no primer. I do not use a dampened brush. I just use a flat eyeshadow brush for all the brush swatches. That way you can get a sense of what these shades look like applied to the skin with a couple different application methods. You'll also get to see several of these shades in action later on in the tutorials portion. I've had this palette for quite a while now, a couple weeks, and I have to say across the board, I'm very impressed with the formulas on all of these shadows. I haven't used a single one that was underperforming for me, especially because these are such bright shades. Now that you've seen this palette close up, you've seen the swatches, let's take a look at 2 different eyeshadow tutorials, and I'll wrap up my thoughts along the way. I am so impressed with the performance of these really bright, bold shades, particularly the ones that are more neon leaning, because those do tend to be very patchy, very dry feeling, particularly just in the swatches. Like if you saw my most recent Blend Bunny video, a lot of those neons, while they can perform well on the lid with primer, they don't really swatch very well. And the shades in here, the brights, the neons, especially these really bright, bold mattes, for example, the bright purple, the bright yellow, these are the type of shades that tend to be more dry, more streaky looking on the skin, and these swatch, apply, wear, blend so nicely. It's actually crazy. It's way beyond my expectations when it comes to the formula and the overall performance of these shadows. I have to say these are top notch. I was really, really happy with the performance of their last palette, the Provence palette, and I continue to be very, very impressed. Now, some of their older palettes, I haven't tried every single palette from Nomad. Some of the older ones didn't really do it for me, but it seems like they've stepped up their game as far as their formulas, particularly their mattes go. These are smooth, blendable, easy to work with. They wear really nicely. They remain true to color on the lids. They don't need a bunch of primers underneath to make the color stand out or to make the color stick to the lid. All in all, the performance has been absolutely phenomenal for me, particularly the matte shades, and this palette is mostly matte. I have found that the shimmers perform best either with a little extra primer, like here I'm using the NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, or really packed on with a flat brush or using a dampened brush to get full, bright, bold shine. If you just want a little bit of like a topper type of vibe, then you don't really need to go through any extra steps. But I like a really bright metallic payoff from my shimmers, and I do find that they need maybe a little bit of help in that department to perform up to an opaque metallic type of look that I personally prefer. I think the mattes are by far the standout in this palette, although across the board I've been happy with all of the shadows that I've used. I've been happy with all of the looks that I've done, and I find that these mattes and shimmers do play well together to create a nice cohesive look that wears really well throughout the day. So overall, performance-wise is top notch. I do think that this is on par with the performance of the Provence palette, which is my personal favorite Nomad palette. I absolutely 1,000,000% love the packaging on this Monteverde palette. I think it's beautiful, it's bold, it's bright, it really fits the theme. The shades inside match this bright, bold packaging. I absolutely love the pack. This is my favorite packaging. I love the outer palette packaging on this one more than the Provence palette. I just like the color story for my personal style more in Provence. Now these really bright, bold shadow shades, they're beautiful, they're vibrant, they perform well. For my personal style, this isn't necessarily the color story that I am going to gravitate towards, particularly just on its own. Mix this in with a more neutral palette, and I could easily travel with this and then one neutral palette, but all on its own, it's not just my personal style, my own personal aesthetic is not really in line with just using this palette on its own all the time. The looks that I've done are really fun, really beautiful. They're just not 110% me, and they are going to be for somebody else, and I love that. I'm glad this exists. Personally, when I first saw this palette, I was super intimidated, super thrown off because of the way the shades are laid out inside. And the more that I swatched this and used this, I figured out that that was where I was kind of getting hung up with this one, because it is more scattered around color story wise for me visually than I prefer. And so I have a hard time organizing looks in my mind. So at the end of this tutorial, I'll show you this palette with the exact same shades, just rearranged into a way that works a little bit better for my brain personally. Once I got past that initial sort of whiplash of the layout, the current layout, I don't mean that in a bad way. I do think it's fun. I just think that for me, it works better if it's organized in a different way, and the exact same shades feel so much more approachable for me and the way that I formulate looks if they're rearranged. So it's not really that it's quote unquote too bright, too much color for me. It's just that it's not organized in a way that is really user friendly for me. I know other people aren't going to have that same issue, and that is 100% understandable. And I'm really glad that not everybody has the same weird organization color hang up that I do. But if you are like me and you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the layout of the colors, and I think it looks way more scattered and overly bright when it's organized the way that it is. I put it in this order, and this has made it so much easier for me to process different looks and pull different colors. Seeing the exact same shadow shades laid out in a different way feels like a completely different palette for me. I just find this more approachable. My brain, my eyeballs like the exact same shadow shades so much more when they're laid out this way. Just sort of a personal take, but if you're having the same issue, perhaps try rearranging your shadows and you may find the same thing, that it's not too out there, it's not too colorful when they're organized in a different way. My first take on this palette was, oh no, don't like, not for me, too crazy, too colorful. But once I, A, just started using it and using these really beautifully formulated shadows on my eyes, and B, rearranged it to be more pleasing to my eye personally, I have absolutely been loving this palette. I do prefer mixing in just a couple more neutrals than what you see in this curated palette. However, the more I use this, the more I fall in love with these formulas and the more I feel inspired by this bold tropical color story. So I have to say, minds have been changed, hearts have been opened. It's still not replacing Provence as my favorite Nomad palette, but it is definitely working its way up into the top. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about this palette. Are you interested? Are you going to be picking this one up? Are you putting this on hold on your wish list? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Don't know what I'm talking about. Finally, my time has come. Let's start over. Nuboso. I'm fine. This palette is launching on Tuesday. What the heck? We're finally getting our fireplace fixed. So excited. Do you know how hard it is to find a house with a real wood-burning fireplace in North Carolina? Pretty hard. Most of the houses around here have been converted to gas fireplaces, which is fine. Like, it's way easier. I get why, but for me, I'm a wood burning fireplace type of gal. I really needed to get fixed because I gotta start living my fall dreams, and that includes fireside grilled cheese, lighting candles, watching a bunch of carefully curated movies, first and foremost being Hocus Pocus. And you know what? It's time, because the Reese's pumpkins are already out. My husband has already brought them home to me twice because he loves me and because he is an excellent partner. Okay, back to the review. Focus, focus, Amanda. Focus. It's fine, Max. It's fine. My dog's very agitated that the fireplace repair guy's here. Do some different... Told you she was mad. We did the doggy DNA test. While she's barking, I'll just tell you this for the bloopers, because We did the doggy DNA test for Maggie and she was like the most muddiest mutt ever. It came back with 15 different types of dogs identified for her and all of them were 15% or less. So she's just a super mutt. But they have all the different categories: herding, sporting, guard dog. She was half guard dog breeds and then half everything else. So she's very protective. She barks a lot. She does not like people in her space. She does not like it when people mess with her humans. Sometimes she even gets mad at us crossing certain boundaries. Like, she doesn't like hugs. Pets are fine, but she doesn't want you to like hug her, which is sad because I love dog hugs, but I respect her boundaries. It's her prerogative. Anyway, I gotta finish this video if she ever stops barking. I had to stop and keep my dog from barking like 100 million times during filming this video. So apologies if I forgot things or if it didn't work out, because you know, sometimes it's just like that. Here you are, you troublemaker. Here you are. I know. I asked that person to be here. I'm literally paying them to be here. He's fixing the fireplace. It's fine. You'll love it eventually when you get to curl up next to the fire. Okay, alright. Let's see if she went to cause trouble somewhere. She probably did, because she does that. Alright, thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. I love your face, and you're special, cool, cute, awesome, and you're, you know what? You're a little ray of sunshine. That's what you are. And I'll see you soon, okay? I love your face. Bye!